All right. So we are going to get in touch with Josh here. Hello, Josh.
Hey,
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing
Can you
great. Sorry?
can you hear me all right?
Yeah. I think you're coming through clear. So I'm going to pull up your game right now, um, which I had open and I think I closed. Here we go. Once again with feeling. So I'm going to try out your game, and perhaps while I do so, you could go ahead and introduce yourself to the stream.
Sure, yeah. Well, hi. My name's Josh Davis. I live in Toronto. I was born and raised in Sri Lanka. I decided like a few years ago that I just wanted to get into game dev, so that's what I'm doing now. Uh, Doing a whole bunch of game jams, working as a QA tester. Yeah, just having fun with it.
Nice. And you mentioned that you had already participated in last year's the interview that I did for the GMTK jam. But which game was I playing of yours?
That was Collateral Damage. It's the game where you're this scientist in like a top-down type game, and
Oh,
you're
okay. Yes, with Errol and Harrison.
yeah, exactly right.
Okay, there we go. Yeah. All right. Excellent. Well, I'm glad you've stuck with it. Have you participated in many jams since then?
No, what happened after that jam is we talked about. Well, firstly, we actually spent a bunch of time polishing up and finishing that jam project. And then after that, we started talking about like some other ideas, and then I've been working on one of those ideas ever since. Yeah, and then that idea is like starting to come to a close. It's been almost a year since. Oh well, I guess 3/4 of a year since I started that project, and that's like getting closer to some level of completion. And I was like, okay, you know what? It's been a while since I've done a jam. Seems like a cool one. Let's just try it out.
Yeah, absolutely. I love TO Jam. I think it's one of the most chill jams that you're ever going to participate in because there's no like you're not forced to participate. Like you don't have to follow the theme if you don't strictly want to. No one's rating your game at the end. You just get to make what you want, have a good time, and especially when you can participate in person, it's just one of the most fun jams you can have a chance to participate in. Okay, so I am just starting out. This is the first time that I'm playing your game because I'm also trying to do the sort of play test thing. Maybe I shouldn't be doing that at the same time as the interview. Um, but I'll go ahead and pose my first question and then try to figure out what I'm supposed to do here. So,
Sure.
how did you decide on what you're going to make for the jam?
That was I decided very quickly because it was after work, and I because this was my first time doing TOJam, I didn't realize the theme had been out for so long. And then it was like during the workday that I realized. And then afterwards, I was like, okay, the theme is again with feeling. What does it make me think of? And immediately it reminded me of my days doing theater because typically, oh, like any kind of dance, because that's typically something where, there's someone says like, okay, like do that again, but with more feeling, with more energy. So you're essentially doing the same moves, but now you're trying to like do more with it. And
Yeah,
so that's, yeah, kind of uh, where this idea came from.
I'm stuck on the first level.
All right. Yeah, I'm watching the stream right now, and yeah, like very understandably, there's quite a few concepts to grasp at the same time. So uh, if you press two right now,
Yeah.
you will enter playback mode.
Oh, okay. And then this is where I'm able to jump now.
Yes. Yeah, the
Okay.
instructions on the screen
I
change
should
depending
have.
on the mode
Yeah,
that you're
okay.
in.
Playback mode, you have to match your jumps to the green claps. Okay. So let's go back to record mode and then two, three, four, and then switch to play mode. All right. Okay, so I almost made it. All right. So yeah, I understand the premise now, and I'm gonna give this
Yeah,
another try. Thanks for hopping in there to help me because I was just like, why can't I jump? I feel like I need to jump to be able to clear this first level.
no worries. I only play tested this with one person, and yeah, even then it was like there's a lot of things to try grasp at one time.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
yeah,
But yeah, so like tutorialization, especially if something like unless it's something that's pretty obvious, like I made yet another platformer for my entry, and that's like, okay, you don't have to worry about the tutorialization so much because most people understand like move left, move right, jump. That's a platformer. But
yeah.
something like this, it's a very intricate idea. Like, um, have you had experience with like music sequencing, or like is that part of the inspiration for the game?
Yeah, I've dabbled around with music before, and like the, very much the process of designing a level starts with like with music sequences, you have like those grid of squares that you can punch in, and like you hit play, and it like loops around that sequence, making like a drum track. That's exactly how the levels are made here. Yeah, going into LMMS, if you've heard of it, it's like a FL Studio alternative.
Mhm.
Yeah, I just make a track there. I have specific instruments for specific in-game events,
Nice.
and yeah, that just gets directly translated into the game.
Yeah. So this is like a real time playback of that music track?
Yep.
Cool.
In one version of the track, I just mute all the instruments, and then the other version, yeah, it's just the drum track.
Okay, cool. And I just wanted to say real quick, thanks to Tris251 for the follow. And yeah, if you've got a game that you'd like me to play after this one, please feel free to submit it either in chat or via the Discord. But yeah, so I guess we'll move on with our next question then. So, what was your development process like for this game?
Ooh, uh, it was well. I knew from the get-go that there would be two main challenges in this idea. The first was movement recording, that I had some amount of confidence that like I could pull that off. Like I needed some way of getting all the user input and then like repeating that back. And fortunately, I started using Unity's new input system, uh, which like I don't know how familiar you are with Unity, but
Yep.
uh, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. You seem quite experienced with lots of games. Uh,
Well, Unity specifically.
oh, okay, nice. Um, yeah, their new input system just made that a breeze. Like everything was event driven. So rather than like recording what was happening on frame for every single second, every single frame, I just took in whenever an input was made by the user, and like what time that happened. And then I just basically had functions to simulate that in playback mode. The other part of the development was this whole uh, the the beat system, the thing that's like driving the music, driving the actions in the game. Um, that took up a lot of time, and like I've never done any kind of a rhythm game type system before. And yeah, that was just the most challenging part. Took an entire day on its own, I
Yeah,
think.
I can believe it. I'm definitely like I like the layering of okay, and then the so the small beats you don't get as much of a reaction as the big beats. I feel like I'm
Mm.
just kind of figuring out the implications of some of these.
Oh,
Oh, is that true or
hmm.
is that just a coincidence?
That might just be a coincidence.
Oh, okay, okay.
Uh, the
Maybe I'm
large
just
beats
reading
are
into
just there
something.
to like help you keep track of what every bar is, every four quarter notes.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, just to clarify, like I use Unity professionally, and then I use Game Maker Studio just to make my own jam projects. So I've messed
Oh,
around with the Unity input system, and I've made I've used that to construct a version of my game, which has like the sort of same gamepad and keyboard cross compatibility. And I feel like one of the most difficult things to do once you've gotten to that stage is to gracefully handle the transition between those two, because
Mm.
I've gotten no end of complaints from people who say like, "Hey, it's cool that you're listening to my gamepad, but I want to play with the keyboard and I don't want to unplug my gamepad." And
Yeah.
personally, I'm always thinking, why not? Why do you leave a device permanently plugged into your machine drawing power? Like, that drives me crazy.
Yeah.
But okay, no, maybe some people have USB ports on the back of their computer that are hard to reach and you just want to leave it plugged in. I get it. It should be on me as the developer to have like a little ignore gamepad option, which I've tried to include. Um, but yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, you
that
gotta design for everyone.
exactly. It is definitely one of those things that is a surprisingly common complaint. Is like, hey, you made a gamepad control, but now I can't use the keyboard controls. It's like, okay, so basically, whatever device the user you are like reading input from, is the device that should immediately respond. So then, like, if someone has left their gamepad upside down such that one of the thumbsticks is permanently depressed, I'm sorry, that's on them. But everything else, like if I start pressing buttons on the keyboard and moving the mouse, okay, I should switch the device to keyboard and mouse. That's neither here nor there with regards to this particular game. It's just, well, only insofar as like when you're concerned with game jams and you're concerned with like handling input and controls, even in game jams, I see people complaining about this of like, hey,
Really?
yeah, yeah. And it's like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't have all the time in the world to um, set up the input system such that it is like properly responding to inputs dynamically. But maybe I just need to write a better library that is handling this stuff and then just use it in everything that I do. Anyway, I will move
Yeah.
on with playing your game, and I will move on to the next question.
No worries.
Unless you
This
have
is
anything
actually
else to say. Sorry.
so I just want to let you know that this is the last level that you're on.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
very very shocking.
okay. Well, I mean, yeah, it's a game jam, and these are all handcrafted levels, right? So you don't
Mm.
always have time for creating tons of content. My jam entry only has 10 levels itself. But yeah, was just before we move on, was there anything else you wanted to say about the development process?
Uh, yeah, like I think because this is the first time the other project I was in, I started using the new input system about halfway through. This is the first time I started it from the get go, and it changed my uh, like how I wrote a lot of my code.
Mm.
Uh, and in fact, like the entire game, yeah, especially with the beat sequencer and like all the things in the game that are responding to it, it's very much all event driven now, which uh, I think was really nice because like everything's kind of just really decoupled, um, and it meant that like I think I only had an update function in like one or two of the scripts. And like even then it was like only a few lines long, so yeah, I just didn't have to worry about like the specific order or something happening every frame, and it just made development a whole lot easier. What else did I do? Oh,
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
uh, yeah, sorry. I also just tried to make like I guess it was a bit of a polished task, but I also thought it was a bit necessary to add like little helpers for the player. So even if you aren't perfectly on beat, there are little things to help you on that. But also, congrats for finishing that level. I'm actually surprised you finished it as quickly as you did. Like I found that last level hard, and like I think compared to the people I playtested it with, they found like the entire game hard, but that last level even I found hard. And yeah, you just did it. Nicely done.
It's one of those funny things of like, I'm listening to you speak and I'm half focused on the game. I'm also looking at the Twitch, and in this kind of like weird brain split in three different directions, I was just like, I will try this and I will see if it works. And it did. So,
Nice.
yeah, so you're starting to get into one of the other questions that I had, which was like, are there any particularly clever hacks or shortcuts that you needed to use to finish the game? No, you know what? That's not quite true, because like you're describing like actually good project building practice. Like that's the opposite of what you usually expect in the architecture for a game jam. just insofar as like you started with something that is like heavily event driven and very deterministic, and it's gosh, people that I've spoken to who said like, yeah, I built my game, half of the logic is in the animator. I'm like, what are you doing? Oh my god, don't do that. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think you asked about like
Yeah,
something
yeah.
about hacking.
Yeah, well, to sort of properly ask the question, which is like, what is there anything like for what you did well? Is there anything that you did for the sake of this project that you wouldn't do in a production project?
Uh, I think the only thing I can really think of is the settings controller.
Mm.
The game basically just has a single singleton. Uh, well, I'm not even sure if I correctly implemented the singleton pattern because like it didn't initially start off as that. But I mean, truth be told, I'm actually quite proud of how this game turned out because I might have spent a bit more time than I should have on like the systems for setting it up. But the level generating process was actually the fastest part of the game jam. Like I did pretty much all of the levels in the last few hours on the last day. Uh, but yeah, the settings controller initially was just meant to be for the settings menu, just meant to like uh, help tweak some things. Uh, and it was like I think halfway through I made it some sort of singleton, and then I kept on just like tagging more things onto it as you do, uh, in order to like just connect the game together. And so that simple humble settings menu ended up like getting to all the levels and controlling game flow, and I think even controlling like some of the beat events. Yeah, like that was just something. There were just some responsibilities it shouldn't have taken on, but it was the only singleton I had, and everything else I didn't want to try and make a singleton.
Right.
That's just what happened.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely of two minds when it comes to the singleton pattern because on the one hand, I know like it leads to bad practice. Like I'm gonna pull this open learning code here, this one, and I'm gonna throw this link in chat. This is a really interesting example of how you can develop a game using scriptable objects in Unity to avoid some of the stuff that you would otherwise have to use a singleton for. And it's a really great way to develop the architecture for your game. It's a solution to not using the singleton pattern for reasons that the presenter makes very clear as to like why the singleton pattern is bad. Um, well, okay. I don't want to speak for the presenter, and I also want to underscore that like I don't actually think the singleton pattern is bad. I think the singleton pattern is a tool. And I think that in some contexts, like a game jam, the singleton pattern makes sense. And in
Mm,
other large scope, large scale projects, then no, the singleton pattern starts to make less and less sense because it can make things more and more difficult to test, and therefore you end up running into more and more problems as the scope of the project increases in scale.
for sure.
So
Yeah, there's always that debate of like how much time you're gonna spend developing your tools versus how much time you're gonna spend like developing your game.
yeah, exactly. All right. Well, speaking of how much time are you spending developing your game, was there anything you needed to cut or change in order to finish the game on time?
Yeah, mostly I wanted to make more levels, and there were even some moves like I wanted when you're in playback mode. I wanted there to be more things you could play around with. Like I was experimenting with uh, a dash, or like sorry, I was thinking about a dash mechanic. So left and right input purely being controlled in recording mode. You can have instances of allowing the player to dash uh, in playback mode as well. And I also wanted to add a little stunt function to get you some points. And so naturally, you also get a scoring system. But yeah, I wanted the player to have the opportunity to fill out every single beat in which they had the opportunity for an input.
Mhm.
And then you could have a scoring system that like saves your score for each of the levels, and that way you could kind of keep track of like who's making the most out of every single input in the level.
Yeah, absolutely. So are there any of those ideas that like you would like to implement? Like what are your plans for the game going forward?
Oh, for sure, yeah. Definitely want to finish making those movement mechanics. I also had some ideas for slightly different hazards. Like one of the other ideas for a hazard was a laser instead of a cannon, which looking back, I think now would have made a lot more sense to do because it just would have made sense for like a timing beat type situation.
Yeah, I can
Uh,
imagine both vertical and horizontal lasers working well in terms of like you have to not be standing here at this time and so
exactly.
on.
Yeah. So yeah, like given the fact that I guess I spent most of the time developing the tools, I just want to spend some time making levels now because I put a lot of effort into making that as easy as possible for myself, and definitely trying to smooth out the like the difficulty curve and the tutorialization because yeah, that's it's a bit of a leap.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only thing that I didn't fundamentally understand was the fact um that I had to enter playback mode in order to get access to my jump. Like that was the only
Mm,
thing that I was missing as a link for like everything else I feel like I pretty well figured out. It was just not understanding that like okay, I'm in this mode and I can move left and right, but why can't I jump? And then like it
right.
does say like it says you only have access to some moves in record mode. I feel like even if you just swapped this text to say switch to playback mode to access jump,
Yep.
like almost the exact same number of characters, I think that would more effectively clue people into realizing like, oh, okay, so that's what I'm missing here.
For sure. Yeah, that specific statement I think was a holdover from when had bigger ambitions in getting more moves in playback mode. But yeah, no, that's good advice. Noted down, and yeah, I'll probably add that in a future revision.
Sure. And are there like so that being said, are there other like moves that you had in mind to add to the game?
Just the dash and stunt for now.
Okay.
I didn't want to make it too complicated, and like I don't think I like in the end I don't want to make it too large of a game.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think that one thing you could do, like, rather than adding too many moves, because I agree, I think that, like, left, right, W jump, or maybe even space as jump, and then having a button to dash and maybe a different button to stunt, um, like, playing with which levels you have access to those different keys, like, maybe in some levels you have access to your jump in the recording phase and then your left and right movement in the playback phase.
yeah. Okay. True, very true. That is a fun idea to play with.
I'm definitely pulling from a GMTK game that I played last year, which was Joint Temporal
Ooh,
Custody.
that sounds very familiar.
Oh, and this is not. Google is not giving me any useful results from that. It's all like joint custody of a child. It is like, no, 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 no. I'm looking up a jam game. I'm just gonna put it up on the screen here, and I'll post the link in chat. But yeah, this was
Yeah,
a fun
yeah.
little jam game, and it plays with like having control or not having specific controls on specific levels. Um, yeah, it feels like some of the ideas that are presented here are compatible with what you have in mind for the way that you're constructing again with feeling.
Mhm.
So I think that's the fun thing about like looking at a lot of these different games and like you might not ever expect it, but it's like these ideas that are for a project that seems vastly different than my own, maybe uh, lead to some interesting inspiration in some ways. Like maybe it inspires some of the level design, if not necessarily the types of inputs that you can make. Because I think in this game is just left, right, jump, and then this little like stone turn to stone ability.
Mm.
So again, also pretty simple. I completely agree that you don't want to go overboard with the number of different inputs that the player might have, but just the idea of having access to different ones at different phases. Um, like maybe if you had a level where you could only jump, then the left and right movement, like you input left at the start of a bar and it holds that note until the next bar. So you have to think very carefully about like when you start moving to left, when you start moving to the right. Um, I guess because right now most levels I can complete by just holding to the left. Like that's the
Yeah.
only thing that I'm recording right now is just move to the left constantly. I'm not thinking about moving back or back, like left or yeah. I'm not moving left at all. I'm just holding to the right the entire time, and then just jumping. So yeah, I would want to see more levels where the this is great for the first 5 levels of the game, like getting the player familiar with the basics of the game, and then only introducing the complexity of having to like move back and forth and try to hold that in your mind of like how long, like syncing up your timing with the jumps. It can get complex really quickly. So
Hmm.
yeah, I feel like you're going to have to almost solve these levels as a puzzle and then still execute on them.
Yeah,
Um, which is, yeah, it's going to be tricky to pull that off effectively. So, yeah, I would love to see more levels as you come up with them.
for sure. Uh, gonna look forward to making more levels.
Excellent. So I think that's just about everything that I had in terms of questions. But was there anything else that you wanted to relay about your experience working on the game?
I guess just that it was like also my first time working on like well doing a game jam and also well sorry doing a TO jam and also doing a game jam on my own and a surprisingly smooth experience all things considered. Like I didn't lose. I, yeah, I don't think I lost any sleep this game jam as well, which was again a first. Uh,
Oh,
and all things considered, I think this little project came went over pretty well.
excellent.
Yeah,
Well, I'm always glad to hear that you're able to take care of yourself on the scope of a project, because that's something that entirely too many people do is burn themselves out on trying to, you know, go nonstop on the course of a jam project. And again,
for sure,
like TO Jam is so chill about the fact that like I love that they announced the theme so far in advance, because it gives you time to start thinking it over and being like, okay, like even if I'm honest about how much work I put into the project and I don't start actually working on the game until the actual day of the jam, just being able to think about what you're going to make, and even having that decided ahead of time, means that by the time you actually sit down to make the thing that you planned out, just yeah, like, things go over so much more smoothly in that case.
hmm for sure. Uh, Yeah, and I think it's also just a testament to the fact that like I'm starting to get more experience with what I am capable of, am or am not capable of. Yeah, it's just getting easier to plan these things out.
Oh yeah, of course. Like on a personal level, I was just talking broadly about like why I'm such a fan of TO
Oh,
Jam in particular.
yeah, 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 no,
Um,
very true. I 100% agree that like uh, the anti-crunch atmosphere they try to promote is excellent.
yeah. So anyone who is local to the Toronto area, definitely check out TO Jam, I guess is what I'm saying. And
Mhm.
yeah, I think if we are wrapping things up here, I mean, congratulations on participating and completing on a jam project entirely on your own. I know that yeah, the first couple jams I did were as part of a team, and then the last couple that I've participated in, I've done solo, other than always relying on Mark Sparling for the background music of my games, because he just makes amazing music. And but in this particular case, you did everything, right? Like art, sound programming.
Yep.
You practically could have submitted this as a Ludum Dare project, because
Yeah.
that's the whole thing with the competition is to make every single thing yourself from scratch.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Oh, interesting.
Well, that's the thing that I appreciate about Ludum Dare is they break it up between two different um, categories. They have the jam, which lasts 72 hours, and you don't have to have everything made during the jam. And then they have the competition, which is 48 hours. You have to make everything from scratch, and you have to submit source code along with your entry.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's really encouraging people to like contribute to a community of development. And it's like, you want to see how someone did something? Check out their source code.
Neat. Huh.
Yeah.
Cool. Good to know.
Yeah, so I just participated in my first Ludum Dare recently, and they are biannual. So I think the next one is in October. I think it's, yeah, April and October. Um, but yeah, if you're looking for another online jam to participate in, there's a good community, lots of people playing and rating games. And there is a Discord, although it's not official. But yeah, so it's not quite as like hands-on interaction with the community as the feeling you get from TOJam, but like few things are.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Josh, thank you on such short notice for making time to join me in talking about your game. This has been a lot of fun. And
No problem. Likewise. Yeah.
I'm going to once again drop the link in chat here if anyone wants to give the game a try. This is Again with Feeling, submitted by Josh for TOJam 2021. Feels like a rerun. And yeah, we're going to end things off on the call for now, but continue playing user submitted games. So yeah, Josh, thanks again. Have a good evening.
Yeah. You too.
All right, bye bye.
See ya.